Good morning, everyone. This morning for our Health Nugget, we are going to review a little about depression, anxiety, and Elijah. In our journal that we use in the NDART program, the Nedley Recovery Anxiety program, there are many Bible stories that depict mental illness, and so we'll go over one of those today. There is the story of Elijah after his encounter with an angel as he traveled to Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. This is found in 1 Kings. The trip he took 40 days and 40 nights. If you can imagine, no air conditioning, walking, riding on a slow animal, that in itself could cause major depression and discouragement, for me anyway. I don't do well in the heat. After spending the night in a cave, God spoke to Elijah and asked, "Elijah, what are you doing here?" As Elijah was alone in a foreign land, and probably most likely could have been more productive at home after what he had just been through, Elijah responded and told God that he was the only one alive who faithfully served him and that he was afraid because Jezebel wanted to kill him. Well, what do you think God instructed Elijah to do? He said, "Go outside and stand before him on the mountain." What do you think happened? A strange wind appeared, breaking rocks into pieces. That's pretty strong. Then an earthquake followed by a fire. But God was not in any of these, it says in Bible commentary. We are told it is not always the man who creates the greatest commotion who accomplishes the most for God. At the end of the wind, fire, and earthquake, Elijah heard a still small voice, and he knew God was there. God asked the question a second time, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Elijah gave the same answer. He told God that he was the only faithful one alive who served him, and that he was afraid because Jezebel wanted to kill him. God gave Elijah a gentle response. He gave Elijah a calling, then reassured him that, one, he was not alone. In other words, God would protect him. And two, that there were 7,000 faithful in Israel who had never worshiped false gods. Elijah had gotten lost in his cognitive distortions and negative thoughts. Dr. Nedley teaches us about cognitive distortions, or thinking errors. The more frequent the thinking error or cognitive distortion, the greater the problem in relationships, anger, bitterness, acting out, depression, anxiety, addictions, mental illness, or the law. There are 6 cognitive distortions. One is all or nothing thinking, meaning there is no in between, only extremes. Elijah used this all or nothing thought when he said, "I am the only faithful one alive who has never worshiped false gods." Elijah could have reframed his thought and said, "Sometimes I feel I'm the only servant, but I know there are others." That would have been a healthier way to respond. Another cognitive distortion is overgeneralization. To describe it would be to say, "He never washes the dishes." To reframe that thought, you could say, "Well, it may not be as often as I like. He does occasionally wash the dishes." A third mental filter is, which is singling out one aspect of a situation to the complete exclusion of others that should be considered, focusing on the negative, such as, my boss's review was full of criticism. To reframe, one could say, right, my boss gave me some positive feedback with areas to improve. Another cognitive distortion is mind reading, having certainty of knowing what another person is thinking without asking. Most of us think we are much better at reading others than we actually are. The distortion is, he should have known I was upset about that. The reframe is, I cannot expect others to know what I am thinking. Another cognitive distortion is fortune-telling error, which is knowing if this happens, then that will definitely occur, such as, I know he won't be able to do it because he will think it is too hard. To reframe that thought, one could say, he may not have liked doing hard things in the past, but that doesn't mean he won't try this new challenge. As I said, Elijah had gotten lost in his cognitive distortion and negative thoughts, but God met him where he was. He asked Elijah a question to help him evaluate his thoughts and actions. God revealed his presence, demonstrating that he is not in the boisterous calamities, but in the quiet moments as one who is gentle. God reaffirmed Elijah's calling as a prophet. God combated Elijah's distortion by speaking truth to him. Not only was Elijah not alone because he wasn't the only one faithful, but he wasn't alone because God had always been with him. In Isaiah 30:15, we are told, in returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. The final cognitive distortion is emotional reasoning. Your feelings won't lie, letting your emotions determine your behavior. The error is, I feel too conspicuous and too out of shape to go to the gym. I'm staying home. The correction is, I am not competing with those more fit than I am. I know exercise is good for me, and today I get to choose a healthy behavior. Plus, my body actually feels good after I work out. As he did for Elijah, God will help us evaluate our thoughts. He will reveal his presence in our lives, affirm the calling he has given to you and I, and combat our distorted thinking with truth. We are never alone because God is with you and I, and he is actively working on our behalf always. There are many struggling. Others are also battling depression and anxiety. There are others like Elijah who have successfully completed this journey, and with God's help, you and I can complete it also. The war against depression and anxiety is winnable. The Lord has given us many tools to combat it. In Bible commentary, we read, the prophet's depression here reaches its lowest point. At the hour of victory on Mount Carmel, Elijah had been exalted to the skies. He had performed great miracles and allowed God to work through him. Now, as he recalls the experience of only a few days before, his spirits sink to their lowest ebb. He wishes himself dead. His suffering is a reaction of overstrained feeling. It is the kind of experience that sometimes follows the lifting of a soul to heights of glory and victory, the aftermath of a great religious revival when the soul gives way to discouragements and depressions induced by the trials of everyday life. It is well to remember that no one in the world can abide forever on the mountaintop. The path of life at times descends into the valley, where hardships and disappointments are the unavoidable facts of life. It is easy to be happy and courageous when we are at the very top of the world, but it is not nearly so easy when spirits are low and all the world seems determined to bring one down. It is then that man needs most to keep his hold on God, that he may not give way to doubt and despair. When down, look up, climb to the heights again. Thank you.